we go.
All righty. Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks so much for taking time out of your awesome schedules to commit to excellence. My name is Craig Zuber. I'm an executive coach with MAPS Coaching. And here with me is the one and only Aaron Hurd, another MAPS executive coach. And we are super excited to discuss, are you winning the lead conversion battle? What do you think, Simons? You ready to kick this off, buddy?
The other Aaron Hurd. Yes, 100%.
Aaron Hurd.
That's awesome. Even my coaching clients confuse the two of us. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, yes, I'm 100% ready and engaged and full of energy, ready to get this going, man. Super excited.
Absolutely. You know what? This is one of the most important topics that we could be discussing, right? Like moving people forward, connecting. And so just for everybody that's on this call, we just want to make sure that you understand from a lead conversion situation, we're still at a baseline of, oh, hang on just a second. Let's see. Is there some noise out there? You guys hear that?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So when it comes to lead conversion, we want to make sure that you guys understand that there's really 4 pillars here that we'll be discussing, or to understand that all of the premise of conversion comes from. And number 1 is mindset. Number 2 is skill set. Number 3 is relationships. And then number 4, and arguably could be most important, is schedule. Right? So when it comes to converting, do you actually have it in your schedule to make sure that you're working on your skill set? Do you have it in your schedule to make sure that you're working on your relationships? And do you have it in your schedule that you have your mind right? Is your mind set correctly to be able to win the conversion battle? Because right now, I'm telling you, those who can connect and convert are the ones that will survive and thrive the best. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Hurd?
Sounds like a bold law in there. If it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist, you guys. Let's focus on what's important here.
Absolutely, right? Like the one thing that's probably going to need to change the most is your schedule going into 2023, setting you up for success. Because for those who are willing to commit, right? If you're on this screen, you are committed. Are you committed to being a professional sales leader? You need to ask yourself that right now and continue to learn how to master the process of conversion. Because once you make that decision, once you truly make the decision to become a pro and give up any other option, that's where sky's the limit, right? Like make the decision that regardless of what happens with interest rates or anything else, that you're going to win. This is your long-term profession regardless, right? Like decide to study and learn and execute and document everything possible about becoming a professional lead converter. That decision's up to you. Only you can make that choice. Any thoughts on that, Aaron Hurd?
Nope. Let's keep going, man.
All right. Well, let's talk about the importance of conversion. The ones who struggle with conversion are more at risk in this market because of the decreased transactions, right? In a down market, you got to be more skilled than any other time, and in order to produce the results from a smaller supply. That's where we're at. And you got to ask yourself, are your skills currently being tested? Right? I mean, right now, there are some critical skill sets to pay close attention to. So we just want to make sure that you're prepared. Ideally, you're going to take away from this call today being absolutely prepared to win the confidence and the respect of the sellers and the buyers, meaning you need to know what to say at all times. And you need to study, practice as long as you plan on being in this career. So let's just jump into some of those things right now, Aaron. How about like studying, right? Like first step is becoming a student of the market. You want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. What does it mean to be a student of the market? Many people want us to be the economist of choice, right? So each week you need to understand what's happening in your direct market. How many total active listings are there? How many new listings are showing up every single week? Many people hallucinate that the actual market is there's no inventory available. Nobody's buying or selling. Well, is that 100% true? Look at the stats in your market. How many new pendings are showing up? How many closings were this week? How many average days on market do you have? What's the average price point? What's the number of reductions, price corrections that have been made in the market this past week? How many expired listings are showing up? How many for sale by owners are in the market? Shoot, how many agents do you have in your board? Right? Like, study that. We have a tool at Maps, and we can post a link to it, that we have a tool that is an Excel spreadsheet that has this data in there that many of the top agents across the country that we have the luxury of coaching that play at a very high level, they look at this stuff every single week at a very high level.
Yep, we're going to post that tool inside of the comments, basically about tracking the total active listings, new listings coming on the market, new pendings, total closings, average days on market, average price point, and number of reductions, number of expireds, and agent count. That tool will be posted for you guys to take advantage of. And just really quick, the recording for this will also be out within 48 hours after this session has been completed, in case you're wondering. So then let's move on. So number one is study, being a student of the market, knowing all the numbers in order to be able to interpret and communicate effectively. Then let's go into practice. You ready for that, Aaron?
Yeah.
All right. I think this is one of the most important things. And if there's any time to write down this, I'm going to go over quickly how to set yourself up for success when it comes to practicing your presentation and objection handlers for any situation. Number one, just understand that amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they cannot get it wrong. So I'm going to walk you guys through a way to practice to become the very, very best, if that's okay with you. And we can also post this link as well, as so that you see the exact process of it. But in a nutshell, it's a 4-week process of practicing your presentation. Okay. So first of all, you have to have a presentation, whether it's your buyer presentation and or your listing presentation. For today, I'm going to walk you through the listing presentation process, and it's the exact same for the buyer presentation process. Okay. So when it comes to accelerating your growth, on week 1, we're going to do this 4 weeks at a time. And it's going to be 5 consecutive days. So from Monday to Friday for 4 consecutive weeks in order for you to master your presentation and objection handlers that go with it. So on week 1, the first thing that you're going to do, and the only thing that you're going to do when you start your day, which is scheduled, is you're going to watch that presentation 1 time in the morning. That's all you're going to do. Watch the presentation 1 time in the morning each day for the first 5 days. Got it? The second week, we're going to do the same thing. Monday through Friday, you're going to start your day this way. What we're going to do this time, though, is when you watch that presentation, you are going to write down what you can hear. Okay? I don't want you to stop it. I don't want you to pause it. And I don't want you to rewind it. The ideal behind this is that it's forcing you to listen at a deeper level. And this exercise is designed to handwrite it, not type it, for retention purposes. So you're going to listen to it. When you turn it in and when you're done, because you're only writing down what you can hear, it's going to look like probably a first grader did it, right? Because it's not word for word. It's only what you can hear. That's 2 weeks in a row. Now, when we get to the third week is going to take the most amount of time. So you want to asterisk that. And basically in that moment in time, you're going to write down verbatim, word for word, that presentation. Okay, it's probably going to take you 2 hours in the morning, but because you're a pro and you've committed to excellence, I know that you guys will do this. So now you're 3 weeks in, okay? You have listened to the presentation for the first week once in the morning. So now you're at 5 times. The second week, you're listening to that presentation and handwriting what you can hear and what you can hear only without stopping it and pausing it. So now you're 2 weeks in, you've listened to the presentation 10 times, handwritten what you could hear 5 times. Week 3, you're now writing it down verbatim, listening into it once in the morning, writing it down verbatim. Okay. Then you move on to week 4. Week 4, now you take the typed out version of the presentation and you read it along when the presentation's going on. That way you have your upswings, your downswings, your body language, and the flow of the presentation. So after a 4-week period of time, 20 business days, you have now listened to this presentation. Actually, you know what? I screwed this up. Herd. In the first week, you got to listen to the presentation once in the morning and once before you leave the day. So it's 2 times. That first week, you've actually watched it 10 times. Apologize for that, guys. So now after 4 weeks, you've listened to it 25 times. You've listened to what you wrote down what you can hear 5 times. You listened to it or wrote it down verbatim 5 times. You have now got to the point after 1 month that you can memorize the presentation, because you got to memorize it first. Number 2 is then you internalize it in any presentation. Memorize it first, internalize it second, customize it third, compartmentalize it fourth. That's success. If you don't know the entire presentation, then if you don't need the entire presentation, you can pull out pieces of it. That's mastery at the highest level. What do you think about that, Mr. Aaron Hurd?
Those that do this, by the way, position themselves to essentially have gone on 25 listing presentations in the first 30 days. How many listing presentations do the average real estate agent do in a year, in their first year especially? Not 25. Practice, perfect practice makes perfect results. If you want to become really, really good at this, you got to see it here first before you can go and execute it.
Yeah, so just to build upon that for everybody that's joined in, understand this, right? Like when I say pros practice until they can't get it wrong, I really mean it. If you're committed, 100% committed to being your best, we have case studies that we have put somebody through this process that has increased their conversion ratios from attended to signature for listings by as much as 25, even as 30% in 1 month. Going from a 50% conversion ratio up to a 75 to 80% conversion ratio just by this 4-week process alone. I put thousands of people through this through my time in coaching, and there has never been one exercise that people had accelerated growth better than this. That's why it's vital that you commit to doing it. And there's nobody on the screen that can make you do it other than yourself. We got to just be transparent about this. You're going to hear a lot of information, right? But if you're going to make a decision to be a pro, 1 month, all in.
Put in the work.
That's right. The other piece to this after presentation is understanding and studying behavior profiles. Why do you think that's important, Aaron Hurd?
Well, if somebody is a very analytical individual and geeks out over the numbers, and you're a very relationally based individual that doesn't geek out on the numbers, you guys aren't going to be like, best buddies here. You're going to be a little bit disconnected in that partnership. So when you can understand how they show up, how they behave, how they're wired, you can adapt your presentation to fit their needs at a much higher level and increase your conversion results.
Absolutely. Right. Studying behavior profiles gets you to listen at a deeper level, build a higher level of rapport, and understand where if it's a high D and they want the bullet points, that you get to the point, or if it's a high C and they want more information, that you're prepared and ready for that information, right? When it comes to pros are prepared for any situation. That's the deal. They're prepared to pull out any and every tool in order to get the deal signed and move forward. That's what pros do, but they only pull out the necessary tools. So it's understanding who it is, and not only just the person that you're talking to, who's the personality profile of the one that might be the spouse as well. Who's the decision maker? Are you able to connect really deep and make deep rapport right out of the gate because you're using things like Ford, right? Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. if you lead with Ford, it will help you understand the profiles much better. But I think that's a big step when it comes to like converting, that it's just practicing what we say. It's not just practicing what we say, it's how we say it. It's the tonality on how we say it. It's the body language of what we use and how we use it, and being able to get to the point and or providing as much detail as possible. Did I miss anything?
Well, sometimes also you only have a split second to identify what kind of behaviorals these individuals might lead with. So, and sometimes that shows up on that first call. If they answer the phone like, go for Aaron, they're probably a very high I individual that is kind of the life of the party person. And you want to match them where they are before you attempt to bring them down to where you are. Show up as them, because people like doing business with people like them. Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah, got to know that stuff.
All right. So just as a simple recap, number one, we're practicing. We're practicing until we can't get it wrong. Your presentation and understanding human behavioral profiles. All right. Then we're going to go into the next piece, which is your unique selling proposition. What makes you different? What is it that makes you not a commodity? Sometimes we laugh at almost everybody that we've ever met in our life has had a real estate license at one point in their lifetime.
Yep. Seems to be that way anymore, huh?
Therefore, what makes you different? Right? Like, have you narrowed your focus so specifically that you are not all things to all people, and that people have a reason to do business with you? Do you have any suggestions in regards to that, Aaron?
Yeah, I do. Actually, yeah, before I get into some suggestions, let me just ask some quick questions. And I know we're not engaging with everybody yet, so I want you to just answer this for yourself. What percentage of your job do you think the average customer understands? Right? Most people really assume that people are like 20%, 15%, 30%, maybe, right? And that's okay, right? We don't know what the real answer is, but ask yourself this other question. How do you answer when somebody says, what do you do for work? If your answer is, I'm a real estate agent, or I'm a real estate specialist, or, you know, whatever it is, something like that, it's pretty generic. It's very typical. It's not right or wrong, bad or good. It just is what it is. But when you answer that way, and if they only know 20% of what you actually do, then you've diminished your value by 80% right out of the gates. Right out of the gate. So when Craig talks about a unique selling proposition, you got to really be able to convey in a very short period of time, what is the value that you bring? Like, what do you actually do? Because they only think of 20%. What are you passionate about? What are the results or the impact that you make when representing your customers, right? So as an example, you might choose to go very, very specific and unique and share with people when they say, what do you do for work? It's like, I specialize in helping buyers and sellers that want to buy or sell 1950s Ramblers in and around the Civic Center area, because I know every single house in that area. I know when it sold, what the average sales price was, what the average days on market was, what buyers are buying and why, what's causing houses not to sell. If you're a seller of one of these homes, I will net you the most amount of money, because I am committed. I'm on a mission to representing all 1950s Ramblers in and around this area. And if you're a buyer, I have the most pre-market opportunity showing up. I am committed to finding you the best deals when you're ready and you're comfortable. Slightly different than I'm a real estate agent, right? Now, another model to that, Craig, is that you can bring people in on the same side of the fence with you by simply saying, you know how. So when we're talking, generally speaking, we have a fence here and we're kind of talking over the fence with each other. But when I say, you know how, blah, 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 I'm bringing you on the same side of the fence as me. So I might say something like, you know how most realtors seemingly are just in it for the commissions? And you'd say, yeah, very common, right? Well, I'm on a mission to serve my community by protecting the home values, by netting my clients the most amount of money while creating generational wealth for their children. There's a lot of studies, Craig, that show that children that grow up in houses of home ownership actually have 116% more likely chances to graduate college. And they are 59% more likely to purchase their own real estate within 10 years of leaving the nest. Isn't that crazy?
I love it.
This is a memory-making conversation with your unique selling proposition versus, oh, I sell real estate. Yeah, I'm really great. I'd love to help you. Who do you know? Very different.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where when you look at it for yourself, it's like, what makes you different and unique as well, right? And Aaron just nailed it. On the flip side of that, hey, what makes you different? Maybe what makes you different is that you're not willing to meet with just one of you. You got to meet with both. Maybe what makes you different is you're going to cause them to slow down in order to be able to speed up in the future. Maybe what makes you different is we're going to meet in the office as pros, and we're going to give you a list, right, for husband and bride both to come up with, which is your wish list, so that we can figure out what actually matters most to both of you. Maybe the other thing that we do is we're so focused on listening to you and understanding your needs, your specific needs, and what you're willing to like, what's so significant about this move and or the sacrifice you're willing to make. Maybe we're so good at doing that we never have to show you more than 3 homes in order to get you to make a decision. Maybe we operate as the expert. Maybe we're not just a glorified Uber driver, which a lot of agents are. Hey, just get in my car, let's take you around and show you anything and everything. That's not what pros do.
Right.
Pros help you get clear. Amateurs will keep you dizzy.
Yep.
Right? Like, that's what sets you apart.
That's right.
Like, hey, how long am I going to be in this business? If you're going to be here for 10 years, it doesn't matter whether you're going to make a move in 3 days, in 3 months, or 3 years. You're the one that's going to help them either net the most amount of money in the most convenient amount of time, or get them into the house in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort, right? Because you slowed them down to get clear.
Yeah, many of the top agents that produce at incredible volumes, like 250 units a year as an agent on a team. I mean, just huge numbers. They often say, I'd rather ask you 100 questions up front and show you a couple of houses than show you 100 homes and, ask you only a couple questions.
Absolutely.
We got to get really, really clear on what their motivation is, what their timelines are, what's important, who's that impacting, why is this, why now, like there's a lot we can dig deep on that. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second.
Yeah. And some of that goes into also like, hey, what kind of offers are you using to attract the client that you actually want to service? And to Aaron's point with that 1950s Rambler style, maybe you have a list of, maybe you have maybe you have an exclusive list of off-market properties that meet the 50s Rambler criteria that would consider selling, right? That's an exclusive reason for people to reach out. Holy smokes, I'm looking for a Rambler. You have stuff that's not on the market. What makes you different?
Yep.
Any other offer you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, I think another direct question to ask people, because right now, especially this time of year, it's very timely that people often are they're pushing out to the future at a high level. They're saying, no, not yet. Maybe in the new year, at some point in time. But what they're really saying is that I don't have clarity on what I want or what I need. So a question or an offer that you might ask somebody that might be considering buying, let's say, is, well, Craig, I know you're not 100% committed to doing anything right now, and that's okay. Though, if I happen to stumble across a real estate deal that was like half price, would you want me to send that to you? Of course you'd say yes. I mean, who wouldn't? And if I sent that to you, would you do everything in your power to make a deal happen? It's a deal of a lifetime, right? Would you do everything in your power to make that deal happen? Assuming it's the right home for you. Yes, then let's do this now. Let's meet early and up front so we can ensure I know exactly what you're looking for. So if I do come across that perfect deal, I know exactly who to send it to. can you do this afternoon, or would tomorrow morning be better?
Yep,
Right. So it's just it's simple offering. If you're an investor, right, and you've identified that you're working with it, or there's an investor that's just not committed to sitting down and meeting with you and talking with you, and you've identified that they want a 6% cash on cash return on their investment, they have a target of adding 4 properties to their portfolio this next year. Simply asking similar questions like, well, gosh, if I found you a property that would double those target numbers, would you want me to put that in front of you? How would you like me to address that with you? Would you want me to blanket offer, put an offer together before you've even seen it because the deal is so, intoxicating for you? Or do you need to interrogate reality with that particular property first? What can I do to serve you today? You're just making offers for them to actually take action. Whether it works or not, you guys, that's besides the point. You're looking at creating clarity and winning by getting an opportunity to sit in front of these people to explore their timeline and commit to work exclusively with you.
Absolutely. Is there a percentage below market value that you would like for me to provide you those opportunities, right? Is there a certain percentage under market value that you would consider purchasing a property in today's market?
Yeah. Or what specifically would need to show up today that would cause you to stop everything and we're going all in on this?
Absolutely. Right. The one thing that solves everything is when you find a deal, right? Because when you find a deal, that's actually a seller. And when you find a deal, it's easy to find a buyer. So if the one thing that, if the 2 things that you actually did were practice your presentation and understand human or personality profiles, and then focus on finding a deal a day, everything else would fall into place.
Yeah. So check this, like with for sale by owners or expireds, even, like, I understand your goal is to net the most amount of money and move to blah, blah, blah area. If I was able to show you multiple offers on your house over the next 72 hours or 48 hours, name your time, or by the end of this week, if I could show you multiple offers and show you exactly how a buyer, or what a buyer in today's market is willing to pay you at no obligation to you, would you meet with me to discuss your options? Let me show you how. Like, that's a hard thing to say no to.
And if they do, at least we're clear on, like, they don't have interest, right? I think that's where we transition this one into, is understanding, guys, the true definition of motivation, right? Making sure that you have the trifecta, because there's many times that they may be ready and willing, but they're not able. They may be able and willing, but they're not ready. And it's for us to determine that, and for you to get on the same page, right? Ready means they absolutely have a reason to move now. That's the simplest definition. They have a reason or motivation to move now.
Yep.
Willing means they are agreeable to do whatever it takes to move now. Can't make it more simple than that. Are they agreeable to do what it takes to move now? Enable. Do they have the means to go through with it? If they're a buyer, are they pre-approved? And are they willing to do whatever it takes if they need to sell the property now? Ready, willing, able. If they do not meet all 3 of those, that could waste endless hours of your life, right? Getting very, very clear for yourself of those 3 definitions. And then also the other one, Aaron, is where to place people, right? Like, we get all these opportunities that come in, and it's understanding, hey, are you ready, willing, and able? Not only that, but are you a now client, a future client, or a never client? Now means you're a seller or buyer who's ready, willing, and able now, not in the future, now. Future, people who are willing to sell or buy sometime in the future when conditions are right. So we are clear about those conditions, and we know that now is not the right time. It could be that their oldest son is getting ready to graduate high school, so they're not willing to make the move until sometime closer to the end of the summer, until that happens, right? Like, that's the condition that I'm not willing to negotiate, overcome. It's not negotiable. It is, I'm absolutely ready, willing, and I will be able and willing when the time is right. And then I think here's the other piece that people lose sight of, thinking that you're going to be able to help everybody. You need to have a category, which is actually never. Right? Like it.
Yep.
I think a lot of times we get killed with destructive abundance, trying to create the endless pursuit of more and more and more and more and more and more. And we got all these databases with all this stuff in it, but we're not doing what we're supposed to do with the people that are already there. And so the best way to get clear and get focused is to take the people out that you either don't want to do business with, or you're never going to do business with, or they don't want to do business with you. Right? That if you can't get in touch with them, and you have tried endlessly in every shape or form, whether it's text message, phone calls, emails, you've exhausted it. Why are they there?
Yeah. Yep. There's a big study that was done, you guys. This was like late 2010, I think. It was a Harvard Business Review along with an MIT professor, studied over 3 years of making conversations and having convertible results. What they found was that the persistency, it caused 90% of connections on the 6th call attempt. Call, not text. So you call an individual 6 times, and statistically 90% of the time people would pick up the phone and answer. In our organization, what we've adopted is we're doubling that. So we have 12 call attempts. If we can't get that person to answer the phone and say hello within 12 call attempts, it goes in the round file, essentially. Put it on a drip campaign to have an automated communication, so we're no longer spending our time and energy calling that person, because they ain't gonna answer statistically.
Well, you know what's funny about that, Aaron, is this. So the statistics on that, let's just go into that. So number one, 90% of our business comes from follow-up. 90% of the business that we do comes from follow-up. And 80% of our follow-up business comes from reaching out to people between 5 to 12 times in order to make that connection.
Yep.
So on a traditional grading scale, if you were to follow up with somebody 4 times, you would get an F. You get an F. And F doesn't stand for follow-up. F stands for failure.
Yep.
Right? So it's understanding that, because we make up all kinds of stories. Oh man, I reached out to this person once or twice or 3 times. They're not interested. Did they tell you that? Right? Like, it's so important to understand, like, we make up stories, right, to protect ourselves. But if you don't know that it's 100% true, then you're making a story that actually isn't true. And until you divorce the story to marry the truth, you're never going to be able to set yourself free. Because there are many times that I want something and I wish the salesperson would actually call me back at either a different time. Because the ones are like, man, I call him back at the same time every single day. I'm like, well, maybe he's busy during that time. Maybe you should try a different time.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
maybe he's not avoiding you. Maybe he really wants to talk to you and he can't.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, guys. If you don't want somebody to call you back, you leave all kinds of details on the message. I want every detail possible means I don't want you to call me back. If I do want you to call me back, then I have something to run by you when you call me back. The best number to reach me at is 259, never mind. I can't wait to talk to you.
Yeah. That same study that I talked about that shows 6 call attempts gets 90% answer rate also shows that the average sales rep, about 40% of the sales reps only called the lead 1 time. And on the 6th call attempt, it was less than 10% of sales reps would even be calling 6 times. So what does that mean? It's rare air. Very few people will actually meet the customer where they are with that follow-up consistency, because they're not persistent enough. They don't have that discipline to say, nope, I'm committed to this call attempts, whether I feel like it or not. This is my standard operating procedure as a business. This is what I do to execute and convert at the highest level possible.
Absolutely. It's method and messaging, guys. Understand, it's both. The messaging is what you say. The method is how it's delivered. If you are calling and you're texting and you're emailing and you're hunting them down on social media, if you're doing all of that and they're not responsive and you've consistently done it day in, day out, then there's drip campaigns for that, right? Like, most people just give up too soon. Like, if you want to increase your conversion ratios, yes, that's what we're talking about. Speed matters, because if you don't get back to them in a timely manner, they're going to go off to somebody else that can get them the information, and persistency absolutely matters, right? What do you want to talk about speed, Aaron?
Speed, man. Speed is still king. The studies show that if you can engage with an individual within 5 minutes of them showing interest in your product, which is real estate in our world, then you have a significantly, it's 400% increase in your odds of converting to an appointment than if you connect with them within 10 minutes. Now, that's old studies. There's big organizations that service millions of leads that are telling us that 5 minutes is actually shrinking down to 60 seconds. Like, you want to increase your chances of converting or connecting with an individual. You got to be there when they are there. So when somebody calls on a sign, if you don't have a particular phone number that routes, so you know that this is a sign caller, you better be answering your phone. And when they're out in front of the property, you better be seeking out an appointment, not just giving information, because your goal here is to find appointments, right? Don't just be the information source. This is a give relationship here. Go and give a little, though. To get more, you have to meet with me, right? Let's learn more about that. Yeah.
All right.
400% though.
What's that?
Just gonna say 400% statistical odds.
So let's say, wait, if you want to increase your conversion ratios, number one, you should be fast. Right? Number two, you probably need to know what to say, like, and how to say it. We'll get into that. We're still talking about mastering personality profiles and mastering your presentation, because when you do that, everything else falls into place. So let's get into just a little bit, like, just for the LP Mama aspect of it. What does LP Mama actually stand for, Aaron?
So it's location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. Location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. I'm sure somebody will write that in the chat. And so it's essential. It is an old school sales tool. We want to avoid utilizing the word scripts, you guys. So let's remove that from our language. These are conversational tools that keep the conversation moving in the direction in which you want it to move towards, which is ultimately the appointment. And if you're skipping steps, you're diminishing your relationship value to getting the appointment. So when you're talking about location, first of all, we need to know what is the location our customer is looking to move to if they're selling, or looking to buy in if they're buying. And so asking a great question like, well, that's a great location. Seems like many people want to be buying in this area, or seems like everybody wants to move to that area. Is that the only location you're considering, or is there another part of town as well? Simple, ask, right? So location, I've identified that. Great. What's the price point that you're, what price are you most comfortable purchasing it? How'd you come up with that number? Right? Some people are based on a monthly payment. And if they don't know what price point it is, you might even ask them, which goes into mortgage. Are you paying cash or obtaining a loan for this property? If they're paying cash, do they really care what their monthly payment is? Oftentimes, no, because there isn't, I mean, they have taxes and insurance, and there might be a factor on that. So don't assume that they are not paying attention to what the monthly cost of owning that piece of real estate is, even if they're able to write a fat check, right? Because they are still in a retirement phase and they still have a conscious budget effort. So don't assume, don't make any assumptions here. Ask the questions, right? Because if that tax value is above that monthly comfort level for them, it's not in there. They don't want it. They don't want to do it. So price, is that the ideal price point? How'd you come up with those numbers? What are you most comfortable with paying? If it was 10% more, would you even consider it? If it was 20% less, how would that do? What would that do for you? Just understand, where are their limitations? Motivation is critical, you guys. How soon do you need to buy a home? Not how soon do you want to, how soon do you need to? By when do you need to be moving into this property? Tell me more about that. What's important to you about purchasing a home? What does that do for you? Who does moving into this area, or who does selling this home impact the most? How will it impact you if we find the perfect home sooner than your projected timeline? Like, dig deep on the motivation. Don't just understand, well, we want to move, get closer to our kids. Tell me more about that. Right?
Let me address that real fast for everybody that's on this call. It's kind of like a goal. It's like, what are you looking to accomplish? Right? That's the question you're looking for. The couple of things that you really want to know, if you boil it down to everything else, what is it that they're looking to accomplish? And what is it going to take for you to earn their business? That's really what you want to know, right?
Yep.
So what are they looking to accomplish? Understand this. You need to get the specifics, and you need to get the significance, and you need to get the sacrifice. Tell me specifically what it is that you're looking to accomplish. What's the significance of that, making that move, whether you're selling or buying? Who else will it impact? Right? And what are you willing to give up to go up? Like, is it time? Is it money? What is it that you're going to sacrifice in order to either make this move, sell, buy? All right. Sacrifice may mean I have to get my house completely ready. I may have to call in movers. I may have to do X, Y, or Z. Buyer means I have to put forth the work. I may have to get a loan. I may have to, figure out how I'm going to make this. But if you don't have the 3 S's, you're not clear enough.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. And the LP Mama conversation just helps you understand that, right?
Absolutely.
Just be aware of what is the hornet's nest you're about to walk into by being engaged with this customer.
Yep. Absolutely.
What's the temperament here? We don't know. So understand that. So also, are you working with an agent? Simple as asking the question. If you know or have come to the understanding based on your conversation that they're not currently engaged with a real estate agent, or they're not acting that way, and you don't want to just be straight up and ask, are you working with another realtor? Then ask, have you been looking at houses in person yet? And if yes, how have you gained access to these properties? It may just be open houses. It might be calling signs directly. If you have a customer that's calling listing agents, signs directly, you can see that they are motivated. They're engaged on finding information, and they're going directly to the source because they don't have an advocate supporting them in achieving their goals. Right? So get ahead of that. Mortgage, of course, will you be paying cash or obtaining a loan? It's always a fun one to ask, right? Will you be paying cash? People are like, I wish. Yep, that's okay. Mortgages are great as well.
Right. These are just simple tools, guys, to be able to follow so you can connect, right? Like, they're tools to help you become more successful. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams is to how to build the rapport and connectivity and create trust in a safe zone, right? And LP Mama is just designed to find the guide to figure out what matters most to each person. That's what it's for.
And the last thing in the LP Mama is appointment. I'm going to share a resource for you guys. In the Shift book that Gary wrote, on page 100, there's 10 closing techniques that he's written out that work brilliantly today. They're absolutely brilliant. So based on the demeanor of the customer, based on the urgency or the temperament, right? If they're a high I individual, it's like, look, we've talked enough on the phone today. Maybe the next step is that we meet in person and dig a little deeper on some of this so we can ensure we have the best plan to help you moving forward. So page 100 in the Shift book will set you up for success in having the ability to ask differently how to meet.
Is your brother awake?
Not sure whose brother's there.
My brother's probably awake. No, it's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
LP Mama, great conversational tool.
And I think that here's the key, guys. In order to connect with people, you got to get on the same page. You got to get, it's called repeating back what you heard. They're telling you specific words. Our goal is to get clarity on what those words actually mean, right? So we can help them achieve their goal. That's the ultimate here, is what is it going to take to earn their business? Do not forget that. What is it going to take to earn their business? And anytime that you're having a conversation with somebody, scheduling the appointment to do something next. It doesn't necessarily mean face-to-face. If you're going to do a follow-up call with somebody, book the appointment. If you want your conversion ratios to go up, I just got off the phone, like instead of getting off the phone with you, when am I going to talk to you again? It's 50% success. You want to increase your conversion ratio by 50% alone, book the appointment of when we're going to talk again, not just, okay, I'll call you back when I get the information, or let me do some research and I'll call you back. No, whether it's 3 months out, whether it's 6 months out, or whether it's 3 days out, book the appointment. Does mornings or afternoon work better for you? Mornings. Does 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. work better for you? 11. Schedule it. Schedule it. This is all about conversion. We're just giving you the simple tips of increasing your business rapidly by just doing these tactical, simple things. All right, Herd. So let's just, I think at this moment in time, we've covered a lot. Let's just get to the bottom line.
Let's do it.
The bottom line about all this is that leads turn into business. We probably need to know the definition of a lead, but it really needs to match the what category are you in, right? Like, do you have the opportunity to earn their business? Are you now, future, or never? Once you're clear about, remember, let's just be clear about this. You cannot determine that somebody's a lead unless you've had a conversation with somebody. It's
not in this industry.
Had a conversation.
That's right.
Right. So leads turn into business. Treat every lead as gold. Find out which lead is ready, willing, and able. And if we need to give you those definitions again, we will absolutely do that. Right? And I think over and above all of this, you got to ask for the appointment. Right? Ask for the appointment, because when we convert, we win. Everybody wins when we convert.
Don't be a secret agent.
Don't be a secret agent. That's right.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to recap this, Aaron?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Cultivate all leads until they're ready, willing, and able. Just stay grinding on it. Use your systems and tools to be consistently and persistently moving them forward towards having a relationship with you. Okay.
Yep.
Use your sales ability and knowledge of the market to move people forward from the inquiry process to a lead being closed, meaning you've had a relationship with them. So it starts with a simple inquiry, whether you engaged first or they engaged with you. Move it to the next building block of a relationship, and then use that relationship to get to a closing. Okay. And like Craig just said, when we convert, we win. Don't be afraid to ask for the business.
Yep. I think we need to make the decision to become a pro. Right. And then follow what pros do. Remember, pros follow a schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way. Pros follow a schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way. Master your presentation.
Yeah.
Understand human behavior and personality profiles. Use the simple tools and acronyms like FORD to build the connection, and LP Mama to ask questions. Figure out exactly who's ready, willing, and able. Figure out who's now, never, or now, future, and never. outside of that, we win, man. You want to take some ahas from people?
I'd love that. I heard the other day, AHA stands for Agents Helping Agents. I thought that was fantastic. So what did you learn? What are some things that you're going to take away moving forward from this call that you're going to implement immediately that's going to help you make piles of cash moving into the future?
Well, I'm gonna do your listing protocol and I'm gonna check out the listing presentation that you have. The one I have, I'm not totally entirely happy with. So I'm gonna check the one out that was in the chat and then start working on it.
I love that.
You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of times we'll get that. Well, what's the presentation? I'm like, the one that you're committed to following. That's the one. If the number one thing you need is a presentation in order to actually follow the 4 weeks, then number one priority is go find the presentation that you absolutely believe in and want to follow. Love it. Who else?
So good.
Well, will we be getting a copy of the session, and then is there any way you can email us the listing presentation that you shared?
Yes. So the recording of this will be out within 48 hours. We do know that. As far as us collecting your data so that we can get you out the tools that we discussed on this call, that's our commitment. Is we're gonna get who registered to be able to get you guys out these tools. Jeremy
Thank you.
Weiss, got your hand up.
I love the 6 calls is a 90% answer rate. So just got to keep calling on these people, and then the 3 S's. I love that too.
Love it.
Being able,
Great job.
Bethany, you have your hand up?
Yes, I was just going to say, I love the pros help you get clear, amateurs make you dizzy. And I think it really plays into pros. Becoming a pro is all about learning how to ask those clarifying questions around motivation that help you move forward and convert.
Amen.
100%.
Molly?
I love the idea of every time you get off the phone with a client, setting that appointment for the next time that you're going to speak to them. I thought that's awesome.
Yep, that's what professional salespeople do. They book appointments. They don't have conversations. They book appointments.
Yeah. Set great expectations.
Yeah, that's no different than always having a discussion versus making a decision. It's freaking gets old. All we do is discuss this or we talk about it. I'm like, make a decision. Help people make a decision. The one thing that we do in this career as professional consultants is help people make great decisions. That's all we do. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yep.
Steven.
Hey there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So, question for you. Some of the rebuttals you said, my ISAs are running into. So if we have people on that we have that are calling for us, and they're running into these people that are using these rebuttals, what would you say to do to have them like get over some of these, obstacles when people are pretty much just saying, oh, we don't want to do that. We want to wait a little longer until we sell, or we want to wait until we buy. How do we help them? How do we help train them to help transition those phone calls to those live calls to us? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll take that, Craig. It's a great question. Here's a simple task that works really well. And I've coached some of the top ISA teams in the country. So what we do first and foremost is we create a journal. What are the objections or the conditions that we're hearing in these calls that's causing us to hang up without an appointment being scheduled? First and foremost, write them down. Let's get extreme clarity on what the actual words are that they're saying. And then we go into our role plays with the options that we have available to us as agents when we encounter that moving forward. So what are the 2 or 3 options? How can we address it? Now, when you're doing your role play, have some rules of engagement for role play. Your ISA team must be able to close for an appointment 6 different times before you hang up that call. This is why we practice. So you're capable of communicating in a manner that allows you to ask for an appointment several different times in a single call. But first, get clarity. What is the actual objection? What is the actual conditions that are showing up? And then let's work on what are the options that they have when we have these showing up that would lead us to getting an opportunity to have a relationship with these individuals.
Yep. That's it. The only thing I would maybe add to it, which would come out with that journal, would be the fact of like getting specific. What specifically will be different in March? What specifically will be different in 6 months than it is today? And then take the time to actually listen to everything that they say and interrogate it. What you got, Dean?
Hey guys, Dean Dilts in Orange County, New York. Great call. My biggest aha was really probably the last thing that you said there, Craig, how pros follow a schedule and amateurs let life get in the way. And, you know, at the top of the call, you talked about those 4 keys to conversion, and one of them was schedule. And my biggest thing for this coming year as I start to put together a team and such is just really, getting the schedule down and focusing on the basics. So thank you for that. That was really good.
Amen to that. And like if you think your goals are going, or what you're going to accomplish in 2023 is going to be different than 2022 without changing your schedule, then we're living in delusion. Your schedule is the number one thing that's got to change. Putting practicing in there until you can't get it wrong, becoming the very best, working with the right people. You focus on your schedule and magic will happen. Who's next? Miguel?
We have a question about the practice. So it's 25 times that you will be 4 weeks that you will be practicing your presentation. So would that be also, do you suggest that we find a script partner or just do it ourselves?
No. This isn't, thank you for asking that. This is a you do it yourself exercise. Now, if you have a team or an organization, you should be turning in your homework each day. But that's what it is. It's for you. You listen to it twice, right? The first week, that's what you do each day. The second week, you're handwriting what you can hear. The third week, you're handwriting it verbatim. The fourth week, you're reading it along. And if you really want to watch magic, record yourself doing a presentation before you start this 4-week process, and then record your presentation after you're done with this 4-week process, and you'll be able to see a professional transformation.
Yeah. You think about this, like professional sports athletes, they watch game tape. They watch those plays that they got to play in, and then they make minute adjustments, right? Their elbow is out when they're throwing. They're like, oh, I didn't know that in the moment, and yet I got to watch this, and I'm going to be conscious around what I do moving forward. Record yourself. It's a game changer. Well,
This has been awesome. Thanks so much for allowing us to be here. You guys all have happy holidays. We thank you so much for being a part of the MAPS community. Enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your new year. And if you need anything from us, you let us know. Appreciate you all. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.